All right, let's talk about metabolism standard 1. Cells in the body need molecules from outside to function. During this unit, we did a lot of activities to help us understand why does Elisa feel tired all the time. Some of the things that we did were we went on to the sim and we explored how the molecules move around the body. We also tested different diets in the sim to see how corn and fish might behave differently than each other. We also saw that starches break down into glucose molecules and that proteins break down into amino acids, and that those molecules are then small enough to get into the cell. The next thing that we did is that we explored what was actually happening inside the sim. So if you look at this, here, let me add some corn. If you look here, you can watch how the corn breaks down into starches. You can see that happening right here, and then those are small enough to get in here. But if you actually zoom in on the cell itself, you're able to see that the kinds of molecules that are getting in here, one, they have to be small enough to fit in. And you can also see that there is glucose, there are amino acids, and there is oxygen. Key concept 1 says a functioning human body has molecules from food, like glucose and amino acids, and molecules from air, like oxygen, in its cells. And in key concept 2, it says, the human body cells can only use molecules that are small enough to fit inside. During this part of our unit, we also read an article called Molecules Cells Need. To prepare for tomorrow's assessment, it would be an awesome idea to reread that article, Molecules Cells Need. If you need another copy of that, let us know. The final thing that we did was we actually had to make a model of a cell to just show what we understood. The model looked like this, and a student that understood key concepts 1 and 2 would know that starch would never fit in a cell. It's too big. You have to break it down into glucose first. So glucose is okay on a cell. Oxygen is okay in a cell because it's small enough. It can fit in. Proteins, well, those can't go into the cell, but amino acids can. They can fit in the cell. They're small enough. So all of these kinds of molecules can get in the cell, but like protein, starches, fiber, those kinds of molecules are just too big to get inside. So how can you show that you understand this standard? Let's take a look at the kind of question you're likely to see on tomorrow's test. Here's an example from the critical juncture. The question is, an athlete thinks she can exercise as long as she eats different types of food because her body just needs different types of food molecules to work properly. Is that athlete correct? So if she was having like broccoli food molecules and ice cream food molecules and soup food molecules, would that be enough? So what we have to think about is each of these different questions and our responses to the question. Are they helping show that you understand that molecules have to be small enough to get in, and they need to be molecules like oxygen and glucose? So this one says, yes, her cells only work when they have molecules from different types of food. So what if she had fish? That's a type of food. What if she had sandwiches? That's a type of food. Would her body work? Well, that's not talking about oxygen. There's nothing in here about also getting molecules from air, so we know that that can't be right. The next one says, no, her muscles do not need molecules from food because all cells make all the molecules they need. And that goes directly against key concept 1 that says we need to have stuff from outside of our body to function. Our cells don't make food. We're not plants. We have to eat other things to get the molecules that we need. C says, no, all cells need molecules from food and molecules from air to work properly. So this is the only one that brings up both molecules from food and molecules from air. That's looking pretty good. This last question says, no, her stomach cells need food molecules to work properly. This response shows a student that doesn't really understand how the body systems work together. So which response would you choose? If you had a friend who chose this response, what would you say to them? Different types of food doesn't mention air. I think we can confidently choose C and know that this shows a real understanding of the kind of concepts that we learned in this unit. The next kind of question that you might see on tomorrow's test is this question here that says kind of similar things, but this scenario is about an ocean scientist. So that's a scientist that studies the ocean, and they want to work underwater in a submarine for a lot of different days. The doctors on land are going to monitor her body to make sure she's healthy. So what's one thing doctors are going to have to look at to make sure she's healthy? So if you look at this first one, it talks about, okay, we just need to make sure she's getting different kinds of food molecules. This one says, well, we need to make sure she gets plenty of sleep so her cells can make enough energy. This one specifically just talks about lung cells. We need to make sure her lung cells have molecules from air and her stomach cells have molecules from food. This response shows some confusion that students might think. And it's not just lung cells that need molecules from air. Every cell in the human body needs molecules from air, and every cell needs molecules from food. This one is a little bit there, but not quite. The last one, though, correctly says that the doctors just need to make sure her cells are getting the molecules they need from food and air. On tomorrow's test, you're going to run into questions that have strange little scenarios like an ocean scientist. And when you run into this kind of strange thing about ocean scientists and submarines, like, you can't let that confuse you. You got to focus on the thing that this question is really asking about having her body being healthy enough so that she can do all the things that she needs to do. If you focus just on the things that are important, then it'll be easier to get this kind of question correct. All right, you're going to do awesome. Good luck.